Welcome back. It is still VOP this morning, and the next topic we're going into is, moving on, in compliance with directives of the Economic Community of West African States, the Defense Headquarters is believed to have commenced build-up preparations for the mobilization of troops and equipment for a possible confrontation with the junta in Niger Republic. But the ECOWAS Parliament is divided over the use of military might to force the junta, which overthrew President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26 out of power and to reinstate the Nigerian president. In the same vein, this past weekend saw the Nigerian Defense Headquarters issue a strongly worded statement defending the nation's democracy against the backdrop of calls to topple President Tinubu's government. Joining me right here in the studio to discuss this is Mr. Cyril, who is, of course, an in-house analyst. So, Mr. Cyril, what do you think prompted the DHQ to direct service chiefs to compile combat items?
Well, as you know, there is a standing order already from ECOWAS mandating the setting up of a standby force. What a standby force basically means is that these are troops that are on alert in the event that a final decision is taken to deploy them into a theater of engagement. Let me put it that way. So they are on standby because an order has been given, and this wouldn't just be a Nigerian thing. Since it's ECOWAS that gave the directive, it means that member states, member nations, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and so on, are all readily making preparations in earnest. Whether this force will be used or not is another matter entirely. But in the interim, for the fact that that the order has been given last Thursday in Abuja during the auspicious meeting, which had to hold in the wake of the elapsing of the deadline that ECOWAS gave, the 6th deadline, the August deadline ECOWAS had given for mandating the coup leaders to hand power back to President Bazoum, which they failed to do. Yeah. So the deadline expired, I think, on Sunday or Monday.
Sunday, yes.
And then by Thursday they had to meet to say, what do we do next? Where do we go from here? And where they had to go from there was that they said let's put a standby force in place. If we explore a few other avenues to defray this problem doesn't work, then we may be forced to go into Niger. For as long as we know, the UN was involved, AU was involved, ECOWAS was also there. So all eyes and ears that should be involved in this discussion have been involved ab initio. We hope that it doesn't escalate beyond where it is, but I foresee that it may be inevitable that this sort of action is taken eventually.
It may be inevitable.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. All right. Mr. Cyril, can you just explain what the significance of this compilation is to this whole process? Why exactly are they asking for this? I mean, what importance is it?
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward. Leaders must be seen to match action with words. Yes, they cannot say one thing and then do another. I think that ECOWAS itself is treading very cautiously, because ECOWAS is not. We could almost say that some ECOWAS members are certainly not part of the plan to confront the junta in Niger with force. Mali is not in support of it. Guinea, the two Guineas, at least Guinea and Guinea-Bissau are not in support of it. So that's three. Burkina Faso is not in support of it. So, and of course Niger is not in support of it. So out of 15 or so countries, we have almost 5 or 6 not really willing, and definitely there will be countries that are not as enthused about military confrontation as Nigeria is, but of course they have to vote alone, because it is politically correct for them to do so. So if they've said we are going to go and they don't plan to go, then it means that they are saying one thing and doing the other. And the junta in Niger is quite on alert because they know what they've done, so they can't leave anything to chance. Not least when they have backers from outside of the continent, superpowers who are also saying, okay, so this is quite a complex situation. But the fact is that the junta in Niger is quite strong. They are ready for what is coming. So if ECOWAS is saying, first they said leave power, they said they will not, then they gave me a deadline, and the deadline came, nothing happened. In fact, they even threatened to kill President Bazoum. So clearly you can see that they are saying we're waiting for that thing to happen. And if ECOWAS has said it and does not even take steps to show that they want to do it, it means that all of this thing will just be charade, that they are just talking and they are not willing to do anything about it. I do not think that.
What do you think they really intend to do this,
well,
or it's just all talk?
No. So if they've said it and are beginning to take steps to do it, the only logical conclusion would be that they are going to do it. The question would be how, when, and under what circumstance. Some have called it war. I don't call it war. I call it action to dislodge the coupists. That's what I call it.
Okay.
You don't call it war. It is what the Nigerian people make of it that makes it become maybe something else. But there's no place where action has been deemed fit to be the last resort. That it is called war like that. It's not even the crisis in Sudan is not being called war for all you care. You know, we have some narratives, yes, but if you call the Sudan conflict, Sudan crisis, war is quite a
it's a technical term, actually.
Yeah, well, but I mean,
it's a technical term.
It's not to play around with.
There is destruction of property,
yes.
taking place, of course. There.
Yes, but in recent times, I think there has been some kind of consensus because Chiani has said, he is willing to, settle this whole thing amicably with ECOWAS bloc and all of that, But there is something else that is of note. Chiani said ECOWAS did not give them the opportunity to actually explain why, like ECOWAS did not wait to hear their side of the story or their side of the matter, before concluding, that Bazoum should be reinstated and all of that. What do you have to say about that?
So first things first, when war and conflict break out, we've seen this same sort of scenario enough to know that you cannot wage war or keep power without information as a necessary tool for tool of state. What I mean is something that helps you to keep what you've taken. So first of all, as far as I'm concerned, that's propaganda, because the role of every military is to uphold and defend the territorial integrity of a country. In the ECOWAS Charter, there's no way it is provided for that if the military of any country takes over, we will come and discuss them and find out why they took. It's not done any. The only country in Africa that has such a law in their constitution is Egypt, and I found it very funny because after General Tantawi handed over power to the Muslim Brotherhood almost destroyed Egypt before El-Sisi took over. El-Sisi took over. El-Sisi now wrote a constitution that the Egyptian military has a role to play to defend the democracy of Egypt anytime that democracy is derailing. Please, what does that mean? It means that anytime
that you can step in.
Can step in. That's what it means. There is a clause in the Egyptian constitution that provides for the Egyptian military to step in to save democracy. I don't know what that means, but you can't have such a rule. I mean, in the ECOWAS Charter, it's not there. That if first of all, the military junta lacks legitimacy, lacks justification. It is not. It can't be given anywhere. Okay. That soldiers will wake up one morning and say because the government is not going well. The answer to the president is the president and commander in chief of the armed forces. In the military, it is you take the last order. If down the line the captain does not like what the lieutenant colonel told him to do, he can do one of two things: obey him or resign. You don't question your bosses in the military, or except your opinion was called for and sought for. So now that they are saying that they didn't hear the side of this, I'm wondering what is the side of the story. Military people are telling us that they didn't hear the side of the story. It's funny.
Well, you know, the events in Niger has it that when the military stepped in, the people were rejoicing.
Yes.
There was joy.
Yes.
Because people felt they had suffered enough.
Yes.
And you know, ECOWAS, Nigeria took decisions it took, withdrawing power supply and other things. And ECOWAS also, you know, took the decisions that they took. And let's bring it home now. Let's bring it home to Nigeria. We saw protests in some parts of the north over the weekend, where you know protesting against the military, against the proposed attack on their brothers, our brothers in Niger. Now,
our brothers.
Yeah, our brothers. Nigerians, aren't they our brothers as Nigerians?
Well,
Niger,
in a sense, we are our neighbors. Yes, that's a better word.
Niger. I use that term loosely. Okay, now there were calls also on social media over the weekend that the military in Nigeria should also step in due to the hardship that Nigerians are going through. And defense headquarters had to respond that they have absolutely no interest. In fact, they are happy in democracy. What do you make of that statement? And when you heard it, did you laugh like this?
Well, the matter is delicate, and I have to say, I choose my words carefully on a matter like this, on a subject of this kind. But it's a thing about the people. I think it was General Babangida that said the people don't always know what is best for them, and he was right. And that's why.
Who said it again? General Babangida.
Babangida, yes. Although he may not have been the first person to say it, but in classical political thought, we hear these things. They are not always the best people to, because you cannot expect the larger numbers of people who are uneducated, unenlightened, unexposed, lagging behind in civilization. An example, when some people came and said they didn't want to take immunization, that it was a poison. Excuse me, those of us who are educated, who are more inclined, should be able to tell them that this is the best thing, it's good for you. Or during the outbreak of COVID, when some people in the north, somebody washed his hand thoroughly in a pool of water. I don't know if you saw that video. Please, what did he do with it then? I don't know if you remember. He took it and drank it. And said if COVID was real, COVID should come and kill him. We saw it happen. We saw how people in Kano, how people were dying. So if we expect that people are going to be able to even meningitis, somebody locks himself up in a room, no ventilation, you're going to fall sick. Last week there was a news item that said that in a certain part of Nigeria, men were divorcing their wives, and perhaps even beating them also. But sure, they were divorcing them because male doctors are treating them.
Ignorance.
Oh, you call it ignorance? Okay. It's fine.
Or illiteracy.
Well, it's fine. So you cannot expect the people to know what is best for them. My contention in this whole Niger equation is this: don't make a mistake about it. The moment this whole furore about the coup in Niger dies down, and we accept that the junta should stand, and life goes back to normal, which I believe some people have already calculated that this whole thing won't last more than 6 months or 1 year. The whole pressure will die down. The next coup will take place. That's my personal projection. It's been, even President Tinubu saw it coming. He said this news scramble for Africa must stop. 2 weeks later, the coup in Niger took place. So it's not. I'm not foretelling. It's there for anybody to see. Now the question I always ask is Nigeria ready to be the last democracy standing in West Africa? If it is willing to be the last democracy standing, no problem. But if it is not, except you meet them in the language you understand, unless you meet them where they are, they will not stop this thing. So it is in order to stop what is going on, it is in order for us to put a halt to it, that we are making the case that something stringent, if they can achieve it without the use of force, why not? But if they can't, as I told Joy earlier, it may become inevitable, because that is the only language that some people are going to understand.
All right. So now, basically, what we are seeing now, compiling war items, basically getting ready for war, or getting ready for confrontation.
Deployment.
Okay. You'd rather not use war, but as far as I'm concerned, when when fighting is going on between
it doesn't have to be
two parties,
not every confrontation is war. So, for example, armed robbers are robbing the bank. We're calling the SWAT teams to come and confront them.
This is between two countries now.
Yes,
two countries.
Yeah, so it's not two countries. It's about
an organization and a country.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a multilateral coalition against Yes.
Now, so with what is going on, would you say that ECOWAS is only trying to be perceived as being ready, as against intending to actually confront the junta? And also, you know that the junta, they've come out to say that they are willing to talk. Right now, they say they are willing to negotiate.
Yes.
Is it that they have said that, look, if we continue like this, we might be attacked?
The only way to stop continued coups in West Africa now is to dislodge these people in Niamey. If you are able to beat them back and restore Bazoum, that will be a real victory for democracy. And whoever is going to stage a coup in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, and
you don't think this is doing the
Gambia,
bidding? You don't think this is doing the bidding of France?
No.
Or it has nothing to do with that?
No.
Just might.
No. Let me. I understand where you're going.
Okay.
Yes, I understand where you're going. Now, even that is quite a complex scenario, because if West Africa had a superpower, or even Africa had a superpower, a real superpower, the people who are sponsoring, because if you call the one the bidding of France, what do you call the other? The bidding of Russia. So so which of the devils is better? But yeah,
some would argue that the one that is proposing
the new
liberty
the
for
devil,
you to use
the devil
what you have.
The devil you know is now worse than the devil you don't know. So so the fact remains that whether it is for France or for Russia, the only thing that guarantees the well-being and survival of West Africa as an indigenous cultural entity is to push these coupists out. That is the primary thing. That is the only thing that will signal stability for West Africa. Then, after you've kicked them out, whatever now becomes, you can always have that discussion after they've been kicked out. But if you don't succeed, look, whoever wins this case, if I should call it that, if I may call it that in Niger, will determine what happens to West Africa in the next 20 to 50 years, even not even in the next century. Because if the coup stands, believe me, it will not stop.
Okay.
It will not stop. And the fact is this, Moses, don't let us ever come to the point where we become deceived and say war is out of fashion. War will never be out of fashion in the world. If it were out of fashion, America and NATO and Russia and all this, China, Pakistan and India, Israel, they should all come out. Iran come publicly, destroy their nuclear warheads. Even North Korea, all of them come and say we are no more for war. Let not a single weapon be left in the world, and let's see whether we can live like that. We cannot.
Okay. Now, you know that even ECOWAS itself is divided against this, against the confrontation of the junta in Niger.
ECOWAS parliamentarians, yes.
Yes. If they are divided against it, wouldn't this be ECOWAS going against itself? If some are saying, look, we're not for this, and others are saying this is the way to go if they don't bow, wouldn't that put the union itself
in jeopardy?
Yes.
No.
That's the word I was looking for.
So I think it's it comes back to democracy. By the sheer numbers, a swooping majority of ECOWAS members are in alignment. Look at what happened in Sierra Leone the other day. They are in alignment that we must put an end. If it came, there's a poem this man wrote, Professor Niyo Shundari. They came for Akani. They took him in an SUV and took him away. That gold soldiers. They just whisked him away. He was eating his cocoyam also, and he was not worried. He kept on eating cocoyam. They went for Professor the other one, took him again in the SUV. Took me. Cocoyam. There was smoke coming out of the cocoyam. He kept on eating it. He went from house to house. Then the one that they knocked was on his own door. And then that was where I think the poem ended. I wish I can remember the title of that poem. So is it this thing? We're not talking about a Hollywood series. We're talking about real, purposive, real life, practical issue that has the capacity to affect the way we think, the way we live. Are you aware that Nigeria today is yet to recover from years of military rule as a country? That's why you rather not see policemen on the road. That's why if you had the soldiers were around the corner somewhere, you'd be afraid. Meanwhile, people you pay with taxpayers' money in the US and in other parts of the world, it's not like, in fact, people can walk up to policemen and even confront them, and nothing happens. But here, you rather not want to have anything with policemen. We have a country where people in the security establishment, the resort of armed robbery to make ends meet. If former president said it's not me. They arrested people, police involved in armed robbery. How do we begin to put all this together and make sure that we don't? For me, I think that we shouldn't. We've already gone down the drain enough. We have a country where some people are more Nigerians than others already. The military gave us that. Every single war, corruption, the military gave us that. Everything you see wrong with Nigeria today, the military gave it to us. And somehow the military is still sort of, look at, we want to hold elections. You must go to Mina to meet General Bangida. I don't know why. You must go to. So till today, Jonathan did it. President Tinubu is doing it now again. Are you aware that till today, both Jonathan and Tinubu did and are doing everything they can to make their Abacha family happy? It is true. Only last week, the president's wife, Remi Tinubu, named a facility after Mariam Abacha. Can I ask, why is that? So military rule is not good for anybody. We must make sure that we push back. It may not have to come to force, but whatever can be done to make sure that those guys leave power and walk away must be done. It happened in Mali. Why can't we do it in Nigeria? Why they hand power back to the prime minister? It should be done in Niger. Or the people can't even see what's coming.
What do you think is coming? Or what do you see coming?
Well, at the very least of it, let me say that Nigeria does not want to be the only democracy less than in West Africa. So, if that, I want to that's enough to send the message home.
Okay, so this whole issue is seeming like Niger against Nigeria, because it's seeming as though Nigeria, of course, it is the old ECOWAS, of course, and just like Moses said, ECOWAS is like it's divided because some are for the motion, others are against, but it's seeming as though that like Nigeria is the one championing this whole cause and ensuring that military role doesn't stand in Niger. So it's like as though Niger and Nigeria are at loggerheads, and even on social media, there has been talks about, wow, is it that there is going to be war between Niger and Nigeria itself, and all of that. So it's also interesting.
Yeah,
right?
and so to bring it home, you see, I think that Nigeria's taking the lion's share in the advocacy for the dislodgement of the government of Niger, of the junta in Niger, is ostensibly for the fact that our president is at the moment the chairman of ECOWAS, which automatically imposes on him the bounden duty to lead that charge. But besides that, I don't think that any Nigerian president should overlook the steep price we've paid in the past. We did it in Liberia. We did it in Sierra Leone. Are you aware that as of today, in the Gambia, Nigerian forces are the ones protecting the president of the Gambia? It was Nigeria that told this man, what was his name, the former president, Yahya Jammeh, after nearly 30 years or so of power, we told him, you lost the election, you conceded, get out of office. It was the Nigerian government that put him out. In South American Principe, after the coup of 2005 happened, it was a passenger that said, if you don't restore the president of that country, I'll come blow you to bunkers. Out of fear, they fled. When the coup when the Togolese president Nasingbe Yadema died in 2005, was it 3 or 5? I think it's either 3 or 5. He had been in power since 1965, and he never lost an election until 2005. When he left office, the military quickly took his son and put him as president. We said, is this a democracy or military rule? It was not clear. They came to Lagos, Abuja, to meet President Obasanjo and said, we know how powerful Nigeria is. Please bless the mess by endorsing that Farouk Nasingbe should be the new president of Togo. Obasanjo said, go back and hold the elections, and they did.
Interesting.
Nasingbe became elected president of Togo. Which other example again is there? So in many of these places, Nigeria has paid a steep price in men and material to make sure that democracy came to stand in West Africa. How should we now look away?
Interesting.
In nearby Niger.
Interestingly so, but a school of thought will still argue that even back home in Nigeria, what we're practicing is a truly democracy. Are the people's votes counting? Isn't what we are practicing a coup of some sort?
Good.
That's a school of thought.
Let me
and
I'd like to address it very quickly. The mere fact that you and I can speak freely about it.
It's democracy.
But we also do know
what military rule.
We also do know that
yes.
some TV and radio stations get sanctioned. Like in the previous administration, there were sanctions for perceived hate speech or perceived comments against the government.
And a TV station took the embassy to court to obtain judgment. They could boldly do that
because it's democracy.
So please, I'd like for us to put this matter in perspective. It is bad, we know. It's not what it should be, we know. But it's democracy. We can still move freely. We can still talk. Believe me, what it does to the psyche. Let me give an example. All the novels written in Nigeria between the late 80s and the early 2000s didn't have people that were married in them. Imagine that.
Why so?
This was the height of military rule. People's lives are were always around activism, escaping from Nigeria to America or Ghana, exile, suffocation. The social space was what it was. There was a time I interviewed somebody one time. They told me that there was a time because people didn't then TV was not this rampant. What was mostly newspapers. Somebody walking on the road and the next thing you hear, Moses Humphrey. You won't know who is called. They are waiting for who will turn. The person who called the name is looking for the people that will turn their faces. Maybe there are people planted in strategic. Just turn and say, who they call me? I don't know, this is the Moses we are looking for. And that's it. And you'll be picked. You won't return home. It was happening in Lagos.
All right then.
So
let's get your final thoughts on this.
The point made is this: if everything should be done, we should be ready to confront the people. We should be ready to move in. Hopefully, this week or next week, there should be a finality on the matter that the people are willing to cede power. If they're not willing to cede power, something strategic, more determination should be done to end the madness of the junta. Failing which, like I've said before, Nigeria risks the chance of becoming the only democracy in West Africa.
All right then, thank you very much, Cyril Abako.
Thank you.
Well, up next on VOP this morning, political leaders and groups in Igbo land are tackling President Bola Tinubu over perceived loop-sidedness in the ministerial nominations. Well, let's look into this when we return.